Hello folks and welcome. So MX23 Plasma Desktop. So MX23 just got released a short time ago, and I am going to be talking about some settings for new users. Just mostly tips and tricks, and I'm going to also discuss backups because you generally don't have a backup tool. You've got a system restore and you can do snapshots, but as far as backup tools, you can certainly install backup programs, but I'm going to just show you a quick one with a tiny text file that you can back up your personal stuff. So if any of that stuff interests you, then continue watching. I'm going to give you system information from the MX menu. So I'll be doing that first example here, and I'll blow this up a little bit. So this is the KDE Plasma version 5.27.5. It's based off of Debian Bookworm. So again, I'll scroll this over a little bit. MX23, and that's the code name for it. So the kernel that this distribution is using is a 6.1 series. If you'd like to know a little bit about what kind of hardware I'm using a Ryzen 5, and the graphics card is an AMD Radeon RX 550, and so 4 gig. I'll point to the NVIDIA graphics card installer also while I'm at it doing this video. Alt and F4. Now I'm going to continue. So we have a couple of new tools, and the thing about the software. So a couple things to talk about maybe. So for the software, Flatpak software, if you activate it, you got about 2,300, and about 65,000 packages are also available in the MX package installer and the Discover Software Center. All right, so let me open up the MX tools first and get this out of the way. You have the snapshot tool here in case you want to make a snapshot. Just follow the directions and it creates an ISO. For you NVIDIA folks, NVIDIA driver installer. And don't forget, you may want to check out the codec installer too for your multimedia stuff. All right, new feature, user install packages. Creates a list. I just install Simple Screen Recorder out of Terminal. So another thing is I'm going to talk about MX's website when I get into the web browser, because I'm going to give you a couple of tips there, and also the file manager. It's got a nice welcome screen. MX has always produced decent desktops and wonderful tools. FAQs, frequently asked questions, user manual, wiki, tools, tweaks, forums. They have lots of videos. I also do. And contribute popular apps. And don't forget, if you're a brand new user, take the tour. All right, MX23, code name. Close. All right, install packages, new toy. Where's the stuff coming from, software-wise? Well, I have my United States repo turned on from MX. Debian is also here, and individual sources. Again, this is Bookworm. All right, software-wise, we can open up software several different ways. This is the MX package installer, probably most people's favorite. You have the popular, you're looking for something, you click and you install. Different browsers, different categories. You can do a keyword search. Don't forget to hit enable repos if it doesn't find it in the popular apps. You also have Flatpak software sitting here. And I'll let this thing add up. I think it's around 2330 or something like that. Yeah, exactly 2330. So again, the other stuff is around 65,000 or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to close this and open up the other software center. So Discover. I'm going to let it do it. I do have some updates, just Firefox and some other goodies, and I will deal with that later. So Discover Center and settings. Again, this is Bookworm Debian 12. If you want the Flatpak backend and Snap backend to be installed, then the install keys are right here. Don't forget your Plasma add-ons. Pretty simple to use. You could do it my way, or you can do it their way. With the resizer is what I'm getting at. So you can install here and install here, screenshots, and read all about it. Okay, so that's your Discover software center. You can certainly use Terminal also to install software. So the file manager for this distribution is Dolphin. A couple of tips for you. First of all, I'm using double click instead of single click. That's just a preference thing for me. And then toward the end of this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do a simple backup from a text file. And I'll be putting backups in this folder from some of my personal folders, like documents and music, for examples. Okay, so file manager. So you can resize icons by dragging. There's my free space down there, and you can also do it my way. Hold down the control key on your keyboard. Using your computer mouse scroll wheel, scroll up to make them bigger, and scroll back to make it smaller. Scroll up, scroll back, scroll up, scroll back. Just resizing stuff on the fly. Comes in handy for thumbnails. And speaking of, you can certainly set these as wallpaper or backgrounds. Okay. Some things may have digital information if you bring in your own pictures, for instance, and they'll be in the details area. This is taken with my wife. She took this picture a couple of years ago, looks like in 21, and this was taken with an iPhone 10, and you can see all the particulars. So if your digital information has that, it'll be that, and that's a valid file, 15jpeg.jpg. I just did that for letting you see that. Some other file managers may have a little difficult time with this. So let me give you some more tips in here. I'll resize this on the fly. These are perfectly legitimate text files. They don't have extensions. So if you're fairly new to Linux, you're maybe used to something like that. These two files are identical. That one has an extension on it, a.txt. This is the same file. And Linux understands that. Okay, so I am going to open up this PDF and give you a couple of tips while I'm at it. I'm going to hold down my control key and scroll backwards to 12%. And then scroll forward to 10,000%. That's a little excessive. I'm going to resize this by double clicking. You can also do this way. And get it to whatever comfortable size you're at. I'm at 800% currently. I'm going to scroll that back a little bit to maybe 400%. Once I get it to the zoom level I want, I let go of the control key and I can scroll normally. I can zoom in on that again. Now I'm at 800% and back out to 4 or less. I'll scroll back up to here. Okay, in and out. Just holding down the control key while scrolling forward and backwards on my computer mouse. If you got a touchpad, you may want to try holding down the control key and take 2 fingers and slide them up and down on your touchpad. All right, another method of closing this box besides the pointing at the close window is Alt and F4. Okay, just some tips in the file manager, Alt and F4. Some tips in your web browser. Let's first go visit MX's website. I'll resize stuff on the fly here. I'm also holding down the control key while scrolling to resize this. This is 100%, that's 110, it's 130. I'll leave it here. So if you're not familiar with MX, first of all, the XFCE desktop is their flagship, and I have a current video already posted on my YouTube site. Just hit subscribe and you'll find it. XFCE comes in 3 flavors, 64-bit, 32-bit, and the 64-bit Advanced Hardware Support Edition. The video you're watching today is on the KDE Plasma. There also is Fluxbox, 64 and 32-bit. Other than that, I am going to hit the plus key, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to use middle click and resizing. So the middle click button, let me first preference this by saying that if the folks that don't know what a middle click is, so I have a fairly inexpensive computer mouse. Underneath that scroll wheel is a switch, hence the word middle click. Listen for it. I am not clicking right or left buttons. I'll move this closer to the microphone. All I'm doing is pushing straight down on my scroll wheel. All right, with that said, let's create some tabs. but I'm going to use middle click, and I'm going to use Google News for my example. It's just something. You can think of other uses for this as I go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first resize the articles, and the news is bad enough as it is. So don't focus in on the articles, focus in on what I'm trying to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load these articles without leaving this page as tabs up here for me to read later. You can think about this usage for other stuff, but more importantly, I'm going to middle click these articles and they're going to open up tabs all by themselves. That's 1, it's loading. 2, it's loading. 3, it's loading, and I'll do one more. And 4, it doesn't really matter. I never left the main page, but these are loading nonetheless. Now I'm going to hold down my control key while scrolling backwards to make that 30%, and then click the next tab. I'm going to let go of the control key and click this one and scroll up on that one to 190%. This is still 30%, and this is 190. I'm going to click the next article, which is currently at 100, and I'll scroll that back to something different like 70. You have to deal with the commercials, okay? So fine, be that way. I'll make that 160, and the Google News is sitting at 140. 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs. They're all different zoom levels. Now, I'm going to middle click to close these tabs. So here's the trick. Just be inside of the perimeter of this box. You don't have to hit the X. Your mouse pointer, the pointer part, has to be within the perimeter of the box to middle click to close it. And I'll do these out of order. 1, I'm middle clicking to close these tabs. And if I middle click on the last one, it will close the web browser. Okay, some tips for you. All right, so I don't think I really need to go through the panel bar, but I will. So you have the clock and the mini calendar. You have the multifunction status notification thing, and got my wireless thing, my microphone thing, my Bluetooth thing, volume thing, paperclip, and I have a shortcut to another terminal box called Yakui, or I'm sorry about the pronunciation, and I'm not going to click the updater because I need to update some things, but you can now see a little blue dot there. Simple screen recorder is what I'm using to record this video, and I did it out of terminal. You can certainly use one of the package managers to install anything. All right, so if you've never heard of my YouTube site, I created, right click, created new URL. I made a web link icon out of this with a tiny little penguin. If you've never seen my YouTube site, I do have 197 videos to offer you. And since this is MX, I'm going to use the search feature. If you have a standard web browser, you should see this right next to the About. And I'll just type in MX, sorry, not 30, MX23. All right, so here's the beta version, and here's the XFCE version for new users. You may want to take a look at that one. I did that 2 days ago. It looks like it's getting a fairly decent views on that. Okay, but you can put in keywords in here. 197 videos. Read my About section and also go check out the links. This is a good one if you're looking for mouse cursors or mouse pointers. It's got about 800 of these kind of guys and themes. Alt and F4. All right, now I'm going to show you what this file does, but I'm going to do this with a couple of windows. So I will resize this box and resize the icons. So I will make 2 of these, and I will make this a little bit smaller and hit Control N to create 2 boxes. You'll see why in a second. So the first box, I'm just going to be making a mention of, but I'm be copying these files here and also here to this drive right here. But not just to the main folder of the drive, but specifically in this folder here. So it's a very specific file here. So that file is located right here in my script folder. It's done with a text editor, and I will open this up and then blow this up for you. So basically, this has a bin bash statement and an rsync. I have lots of videos on my YouTube site to show you how to do this exactly. rsync is remote sync. You already have this installed. A lot of your backup programs use rsync. I'm going to type in backup. It doesn't find anything from backup. You have time shift, but it's a system restore utility, and under default conditions it also uses rsync. You can also install Lucky Backup, which also uses rsync. A lot of things use rsync. Rsync is a remote sync. So I'm going to use rsync to, well, copy my documents and music. I can add more lines if I want to for my other folders. But I'm specifically sending it to, or copying that documents folder to that folder on that backup drive. Very specific. Here. Okay, not the main directory, but the specific folder. All I did was create that in a text editor, put in a couple of lines, and then right-clicked on the file, made sure that it's executable, and then dragged it to the desktop as a shortcut. So I'm going to run that right now. So currently this is sitting at backup test. I'll run it or execute it. And you can now see that it's making copies. And it'll make a copy of the music folder too. So files and folders. All right, so the benefit of using rsync when you're doing this, you can certainly drag and drop. However, rsync is a little smarter and faster. So basically, if these files did not change and you do this again, it has nothing to do. They won't have anything to copy. It just verifies. But if you altered any of these files, and all of these files are text files, including that B, for instance, you can see it has text in it. So let's go look at B over here on the backup drive. So it's this one here, under Documents and B. And you can see it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6 test. What I'm going to do is alter that file in my main documents folder and add an extra line. This could be a folder, it could be a file, it could be an image, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to save that. Now that file is different. When I rerun that, rsync is smart enough to actually realize that there's a change in here. It looks at the attributes of folders, or directories as we call them in Linux, and files. And I'm going to rerun this thing. And you won't see anything but a blink. It's finished. There's the hello world. It didn't have that before. Let me show you another example of this thing. So I have some, I'm going to get rid of these. Actually, I'll just leave them. So I'm going to create another hello world, or maybe just a test folder. How about that? We'll just do a test folder. Very popular music album on the internet lately. That test album. Just kidding, folks. Anyways, so I'm going to open this up, and as you can see, I have 6 folders, and this only has 5. So I'm going to rerun this. All right, so basically my test folder just got replicated. So it didn't need to replicate these because they didn't change. That's what makes rsync faster the second time. The initial backup takes the longest. Then after that, the subsequent backups are very fast. So this is a really fast way of doing backups if you want to use that. If you don't, then go over to, you maybe in here. So let me open up this and look for backups. Type in backup, doesn't find anything there, so let's go to enabled repos. We have lots of options. So a lot of backup programs you can also use. I don't know what your favorite is. Maybe Lucky Backup. That's one item. It uses rsync. But anyways, that's one of the reasons I made mention of that file. But you can certainly install Lucky Backup. There's another option too, is grsync. I'm going to install that for you and actually run it. It should be fairly fast. And hopefully I won't have to deal with, yeah, I think I have to deal with the updates at the same time. So, okay, we're done. So let's look at grsync. So I'm going to type in gr, and grsync is rsync. Okay, so it's also using rsync. So I'm going to pull this to the side, and I'm going to open up this drive here, and we will create some more folders here. I'm going to do pictures. As you can see, I do have pictures using grsync, and I'm going to send it to this folder right here. So using the basic settings for grsync, you hit open, pictures, open. So now there's the path. My user for today is MX23 new, and I'm going to send it to backup MX23, and I'm going to run it. So I'll leave this open, and now you can see it's creating that. So this is for you folks that want to do the graphical part, and you can do one folder at a time. So if you didn't want to write your own script file, for instance, you can certainly use grsync. It's very fast. And more importantly, if you decide to add more photos to your pictures folder, wallpapers, images, whatever it might be, just rerun grsync, or rerun your script files if you want to write those. Alt and F4. All right, those are just some of my tips. Thank you for watching.